evolved from ape-like ancestors. In fact, creation is just a myth. There was no Noah's Ark. The Bible is obviously false. At least, that's if what we're fed on a daily basis through the media, educational institutions, and even some churches is true. Sadly, millions who have been indoctrinated by such evolutionary dogma believe these claims to be true. For them, the scriptures cannot be trusted. They have been immunized against the true gospel of Jesus Christ. One organization committed to challenging the blind acceptance of evolutionary doctrine is Creation Research. Its founder and international director is John Mackay.
When I was a student at university being trained in geology, one of the things that puzzled me was that we were told pretty much close to the start that we were not going to deal with things such as Noah's flood because it was nonsense. And that intrigued me because I didn't know anything much about Noah's flood. And the second thing that got to me after a while was that we were using a textbook by Professor Carter from Cambridge University, who had lovely diagrams showing how fishes grew legs and turned into frogs, and these amphibious creatures eventually turned into people. And at the end of every chapter, he would have little statements like, "But you can't see this in the rocks." And after 4 or 5 years of studying about fossils, I began to puzzle as to why we were doing this theory called evolution when there wasn't a single fossil that you could use to actually back it up. In fact, the more I studied the fossils, the more I became aware of one very interesting phenomena. If you dug up the fish record, the oldest fish looked like a fish. If you dug up the plant record, if you just took, say, a fig fruit, it just looks like the fig fruits we have today. In fact, they don't seem to have done anything except produce their own kind, like the Bible says things were created to do. So I became firmly convinced that the biblical account of creation was true. And there's one other aspect that began to seriously concern me. I kept coming across many students, lecturers, people in the general public who'd outrightly rejected Christianity and Jesus Christ because they felt there was no evidence at all to support creation and that evolution is true.
For Creation Research, a major part of sharing this message involves visits all around the world to public and private schools and universities, where students are presented firsthand with the evidence that supports special creation. Particularly in higher schools of education, this presentation of evidence often involves debates and open forum discussion, where many questions by students and staff can be addressed.
Another important area of creation research involves visits to churches, where we would spend time teaching not only the young people but the whole congregation, who by and large have been brought up in a humanist world where their mind has been filled with the idea of evolution and no alternatives. And so we would give them a good look at the evidence for creation and answer their questions that result from the Bible saying something different, like, how could God make the world in just 6 days? It's such a big job. An interesting question I got from a dear old lady. Or, how did Noah get the animals from Australia? In fact, some of the most rewarding times are our question times in churches and in public meetings. One of the things we get involved in creation research, and it's very exciting, particularly for those who come, is the field trips we run all around the world, where people can come out with us and get hands-on experience at just getting the fossils for themselves. I mean, it's a real thrill to break open a rock and be the first person in the history of this planet to actually see that fossil fish or fossil tree, whatever it is, for yourself, and to get the evidence that the fishes have produced their own kind. The evidence is rock solid. And we do this on just about every continent on this planet because the evidence for creation is global.
The ability of creation research to so effectively minister in this manner is only possible because John and his team of researchers and staff are committed to collecting and researching firsthand much of the evidence for creation. Particularly for John, this involves hundreds of hours of diligent exploration of geological sites all over the globe. Because of this commitment to research, creation research is ideally placed to produce creation resources. In fact, many of the world's finest video resources relating to creation themes emanate from creation research. In addition to stocking a wide range of creation resources from all around the world, Creation Research produce audio tapes, reading and teaching materials. As well as mailing out a regular newsletter and updated catalogues, Creation Research has the unique capacity to mail out, upon request, fossils that have been collected by John and his team from right across the planet. Why don't you, like so many other hundreds of people, schools and churches worldwide, enjoy the benefits of the vital ministry of Creation Research?
I guess we're always very concerned that our people